Please tell me again about the PS4. I would really just love to hear about it.
How can I not tell you about the PS4? But you
always
do this.
You always want to sympathize with the PS4.
Yeah, and you do this every time we have a discussion.
For 10 years.
Do this.
10 years, Muzz.
Guys,
what?
stop arguing. Everything's going to be fine. They're both going to be great systems.
You know, I never thought about it like that. I guess you're right.
I guess I didn't think of it that way.
Jeez.
Good.
Thanks, Sleazy. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to NerdKO. We're back from our summer break. I'm Josh.
And I'm Muzz.
And we got a lot more cool stuff to talk to you today. What are we going to kick off with?
We're going to start off with our predictions for the next-gen consoles. How we think the launch will be, what games we think will be the games to get, and so on.
Yep. And then after that, we're going to talk about our favorite comic book heroes who should have their own video game, but for whatever reason don't, or it's been done really badly before, so they totally deserve a new game.
Which has happened lots of times.
Lots and lots.
After that, we're going to jump into the last segment, which is going to be about our favorite British TV shows. So it's just things that you may not know about, you should definitely watch. So
yep.
Let's get to it. Okay, so this is where we talk about next gen predictions. So we're just going to kick it off. What do you think?
Yep. Okay, here are some of my predictions for the next gen. Now, I don't really want to talk about like who's going to win out or anything. I'm going to let you kind of address that because you seem to have a better position on it earlier when we talked. What I will say is as far as like first party lineups go and like actual like console exclusive, I think Sony's actually in a pretty good position here. I mean, Titanfall looks great for the Xbox One and no one's going to deny that, and certainly Dead Rising 3 as well. But I really think that Killzone is actually going to surprise a lot of people and be a really fantastic next gen exclusive for the PS4.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been that overly impressed with it, and I'm getting a PS4. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say, you know, it's a bad system or it's got a weak lineup or anything. Mm-hmm. There isn't a lot of standout for me though for the PS4's launch. I mean, aside from
well, I think there's not a lot for either of them really.
It's true. Just, yeah, I'd say most of the titles that are coming out, the big titles, are all multi-platform. Your Watch Dogs and your Battlefield and your
which we need
Assassin's
to talk about Watch
Creed
Dogs in the middle.
Which yeah. So there's that. I think though, on the sales end of the whole thing, I really. At first, I was saying, well, it's easy. Sony's going to just knock Microsoft out of the box.
Right, especially initially before they did their backpedal.
Right. Well, and because of that, that was part of the reason, though. Even after they changed their mind, I thought, well, they've done irreparable damage to their brand name. Right. And I still think that. I think Microsoft really dropped the ball. But at the same time, I've just found that Sony isn't launching worldwide. And I think that would have been a big boon for, like, America was the 360's market this gen. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there's no getting past it.
It was this gen's PS2.
Right, and they sold about 16 million more units in America than Sony did.
Right.
So where did Sony make up that difference? Well, they made up a lot of it in Japan, where Microsoft only sold 1.5 million systems. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the systems in Japan were all Wii's and PS3s.
Oh yeah.
So for Sony not to launch in Japan on launch is going to cost them a big gap that they could have filled, and put themselves ahead of Microsoft. So I think Sony will still outpace Microsoft for launch, but it's not going to be on such a large scale as I thought it was going to be originally.
Yeah, see, I'd have to agree with you. Like, I think that they'll struggle initially at launch, but I think like they will have a lot of catch up once they finally get into that Japanese market because Microsoft had struggled for years and years to capture any kind of momentum in that region with other products as well.
To no avail.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think something could be said that I think got a lot of the mentality in that culture over there is like they like to support Japanese companies. So over here in America, like we love Japanese stuff. We go crazy for it. Over there, probably not so much the other way. So that probably accounts for some of the discrepancy that you see there.
Right. So, yeah, with the mistakes Microsoft made with their launch, with the $100 price difference.
Oh yeah.
I think Sony's in a really good position to outpace Microsoft.
It's not just the raw mistakes that Microsoft made, but it's also just like kind of a variety of like one PR blunder after. Like, what if I can't afford what if I can't get on live? Well, will you just buy an Xbox 360 then and you don't get to join the revolution?
Yeah, there's a reason he's no longer with Microsoft.
Right.
But yeah, it was. You're right. One mistake after the next, and it took them about a month to get it right before they realized, oh crap. And I'm sure it was their stockholders, and I'm sure it was the outcry of the gamers in that the PS4 pre-orders had doubled. The Xbox One pre-orders.
Oh yeah.
And people say, oh well, they don't listen to the gamers, they just listen to the shareholders. It's all about money. Well, yeah, and that's because we were unhappy as as a market.
Oh yeah.
And so it's undeniable evidence that when gamers speak, people listen. The shareholders listened, Microsoft listened. They had to make the changes, and they did. But will that be enough to repair the damage they did is the question.
I don't know. The only thing that the one thing, I think I mentioned this earlier, that I think Microsoft is kind of like their ace in the hole, so to speak, is one, like you already mentioned, they do have a worldwide launch, which is great, even though they don't have quite as strong of a presence over on that side of the world as they would.
Well, both of them, I gotta add, both of them are not launching in some regions too.
Oh, okay.
They are launching. It's not as big a worldwide launch as it should have been.
Right.
They're each only launching in so many markets.
Right.
But I think the big mistake was Sony not launching in Japan right off the bat.
Well, that's the thing. Like, aside from, in addition to that, though, I think the one thing that Microsoft may have that helps them out is just they have the massive install base for Xbox Live subscribers. Because for a long time, like, that was the service to use. Like, Sony struggled for a long time with their online infrastructure, not only in the marketplace, but its ability to offer sound multiplayer and a way to connect. They've caught up a lot, and I think they really improved the value of their service with things like their free games for like PlayStation Plus subscribers, which Microsoft then adopted itself with games for gold. Sure. Yeah. Or is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Games for gold? Yeah. So I mean, again, it's they're both going to make money like demons.
And I think now that PSN is going to a pay service, it's going to get better. And I've always said that PSN should be a pay service.
Right.
And, I mean, you're just going to get what you pay for. You're going to get a better service. They're going to have more to put into the service. So I really think that's going to be good for Sony this gen.
Oh yeah. Definitely. So let me ask you, like, and I think we're in agreement on this, like, what is your number one most exciting, like, multi-platform? I'm not talking exclusives like Rise or anything like that.
Oh, yeah,
like,
we're on the same page for that.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Watch
that we can both freak out. Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Oh,
that game's going to be amazing.
So good.
Yeah, and I mean, for the PS4, I'm definitely going to, I think, I got to have 2 games on launch day. So it's going to be Knack and it's going to be Killzone.
Okay.
And then for the 360, it'll probably be Rise and Dead Rising 3.
I want Dead Rising 3. Rise, I'm iffy on. I mean, like, I think it shows a lot of potential, and some of the developer diaries on the Xbox looks really good, but I'm going to take a wait and see approach on that. I want to make sure they get all the kinks ironed out, and they're not just like, just hit the launch window!
Right.
Just like, some horrible effects or anything, so.
So, yeah, I think that's about it, and if you guys have comments or ideas or predictions of your own, throw them down there in the comments and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Alright, so my pick for kicking off comic book heroes who deserve a better video game, or just a video game period, is Daredevil. Now, Daredevil has appeared in a few video games before. I think he was in Marvel Ultimate Alliance and might have had a few cameos in some other games. Probably Spider-Man would be my guess. But Daredevil is just such an intriguing character, and I always kind of saw him as Marvel's sort of Batman figure in a way. Like, not as super rich as Bruce Wayne by any stretch of the imagination, but kind of similar in the way that he kind of beats up street-level thugs, and he has to use his mind a lot to kind of, sort out, criminal conspiracies and whatnot. So my vision for a Daredevil game will play like this. During the day, you're just regular Matt Murdock. You're an attorney, you're running around with Foggy Nelson and, in the courtroom and everything. But what you end up doing is you take the intelligence that you gathered during your time in the courtroom and you use that to your advantage at night, where the game turns into just regular Daredevil just beating up bad guys and trying to track down probably the Kingpin would be my guess. But I think it would be really cool to have kind of like a Phoenix Wright style like courtroom simulator for the daytime hours, and then at night whenever whenever he finally dons the cowl and the horns and everything and starts to go out and look for the criminal element, that whatever he's gathered helps him out a lot there. And I think that would be a really cool way to kind of blend a couple of genres and also pay homage to one of Marvel's best heroes in my opinion as well.
Alright, so what game would I like to see done and done properly? Well, I would have said Daredevil, but Josh already did Daredevil. Daredevil is my all-time favorite hero, and he's absolutely right. There needs to be a Daredevil done right. There was a Game Boy game or a Game Boy Advance game done, and that was about it. We've never seen a Daredevil game, and I think it could be a phenomenal thing. But since I can't say Daredevil, I'm going to say The Crow, because he is right up there with Daredevil in terms of the potential for a great video game. Now, the way I see this game done is, very simply, The Crow on the Assassin's Creed gameplay engine. It'd be phenomenal, running from rooftop to rooftop, climbing buildings, the whole Crow thing, with the added bonus that you're practically immortal, and you can fall down, and you know, I mean, it just like it really lends itself to that gameplay engine, and I think it would be outstanding if they did it and did it right. Because in the past, it wasn't done right. We saw the Saturn and the PlayStation version of the game, and they were just really bad, janky games. They didn't play well, the control was awful, and I really think the series deserves something new. So who knows, maybe with the new movie coming out, if it gets released, we'll see. I know it's in the making right now. Maybe we'll see a re-emergence of the popularity of the franchise and get a good game. Hopefully just not another one of those quickly churned out, based on a movie video games that always really suck. So if whoever's going to work on that game is listening to me, please, just Assassin's Creed with the Crow. That's all I need. Alright, so now we're going to talk about some of our favorite British TV shows. There are a lot to choose from, but we narrowed it down a little bit and picked just a few of our favorites.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. My first one, without question, and probably my absolute favorite, I'm just going to go ahead and do it in reverse, is Spaced, with Simon Pegg, and that's just an amazing show. The basic plot is that he plays Tim, who's kind of a down-on-his-luck 20-something who is trying to find a cheap flat to live in after going through a breakup with his girlfriend. Meets, by happenstance, a girl at a diner, Daisy, and she also is kind of in a similar situation. They become fast friends, and then they pretend to be a couple, even though they're not, so that they can get a really good deal on like a flat in London. And the cool thing is they just introduce a lot of really quirky characters throughout it. Nick Frost is in it as well, and he's just outstanding in that show. And it's just, I mean, it is so chock full of like geek and nerd references too, which really just kind of like the icing on the cake to really just like a great premise anyway.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And the main girl was also in Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yeah, she was.
With both of them, so
yep.
You see some of the characters carry over. That's
yeah, if you
cool.
watch Spaced or any of that, like you'll see a lot of those characters pop up in the Blood and Ice Cream trilogy.
Yeah, So I will start with British Empire. And this isn't one that's very well known. A lot of people don't know about this, and anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Red Dwarf fan. It's my absolute favorite British show, but I didn't add it to this list because I wanted to do something different. I've talked about Red Dwarf on here too many times, and now I've done it again. So British Empire stars Chris Berry, who plays Rimmer in Red Dwarf.
Right.
And he plays just clueless guy with really good intentions.
It sounds like a great combo.
Oh yeah,
kind of includes.
right. And he really wants to run this leisure center to the best of his ability. And he has this great crew of people working for him, but it's just one crazy situation after the next, and it's very funny and it's very awesome. And Chris Berry is just one of the most underrated, most talented actors out there, and he just never gets any credit. Some people might know him. He was the butler in the Tomb Raider movies. He played Hillary the butler. And that's about the greatest American recognition he ever got, but he's actually pretty well known over there. And
right on.
Yeah, just he's so outstanding in the show. It's definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
Yeah. So what's your next one?
My next one, actually, it's up there with Space, but not like I don't revere quite as much as IT Crowd. And I think that honestly, like I remember watching IT Crowd a while ago, and I think that initially it wasn't super popular. I think it kind of grew a lot
when it hit
over
Netflix.
here.
That was it.
Right, like once it made its way
up.
to Netflix, like I think people just flipped out for it. But especially as someone who works in IT, it's such a relatable show. And there's just tons of little in jokes that are technological, but it's also again just amazing performances by Richard.
Awade?
We're not positive. Yeah. Whoever you are, Moss, we love you, and that's why I keep watching. If you haven't watched the show, you absolutely owe it to yourself. Especially if you work at all with computers, you're just going to be very, very happy with it.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so speaking of shows you can relate to as an IT professional, small business owner here, Black Books. And Dylan Moran is the main guy in this. Another character from Shaun of the Dead.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And side note, he was astoundingly funny in what was it? Run Fat Boy Run with Simon Pegg. His character was almost the highlight of that whole movie.
Yeah. So, Black Books, he plays Garth. He owns a independently owned just little bookstore. He's rude. He hates customers, and I totally know how it feels sometimes. I'm sitting here sometimes, and people walk in, and they're standing in front of the 360 games, and they go, "Do you have any 360 games?" And I just want to, I want to be him at that moment, because he'd do something like pull out a megaphone and tell him to leave. Right. And that's the guy I want to be sometimes, and it's absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's a brilliant show, and I definitely, it's on Netflix also. I recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. You got to check out Black Books.
Yeah. Right on. All right, finally, and I was only going to do 2 shows initially, but I decided to do this third one because when I told Muzz that I'm pretty sure I'd been drinking the first time I watched this show, and it was amazing then, and then I sobered up and watched it again. It was still amazing. That was Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, and I struggled to even classify this, and because Muzz has so much more expertise in this arena, I was like, how do I explain this show? And initially I was like, it's kind of like a faux soap opera, but not. But then it's got weird sci-fi elements, and it looks like a '70s action hospital drama.
Right. And it looks like at the intro, you can see the things floating around the background. It takes a little bit from the Twilight Zone. He's writing on the typewriter. It takes a little bit from the Ray Bradbury show.
Right.
Like, he definitely had influences of those when he did it. And it's sticky and schlocky, and it's done on purpose.
And the opening theme is just majestic for the show, by the way. Like, you got that stuck in your head. So, it's over the top hilarious, and it's got a lot of horror in it too. Actually, if you stick with it for a little, there's some pretty crazy stuff in there.
Probably worth watching, especially if you liked the IT Crowd,
right?
Which we just spoke about a minute ago. So,
yeah, and I mean it's a little bit lesser known, I think, than those 2 shows, but totally worth your time. And you could probably find we found the pilot on YouTube. You go there and check it out real quick. If you're sitting at your computer watching this, you should do that.
Yeah. And one last one I wanted to talk about real quick was Fawlty Towers. And this is an older show, and if you haven't seen it, you owe it to yourself. Check it out. It's John Cleese, and it's somewhat like British Empire in the way it's executed, except instead of a leisure center, John Cleese runs a bed and breakfast. And he's such a jerk, and it's so fun to see John Cleese play this character. I'm not even going to go into it. Just check it out. I believe it's also on Netflix, so Fawlty Towers, an amazing, amazing show. It's timeless comedy, and you'll watch it and you'll say, wow, this is really old. You can tell it's I want to say a late 70s, might be early 80s, but when you watch it, you'll see, and you'll have a true example of something that's just timeless comedy. So
that's always refreshing. Like the stuff that's funny, and then like you watch it like 10, 15 years later, and it's still hilarious.
It's still hilarious. Yeah,
it's really a testament to the writing of how good a show like that can be,
and the acting. I mean, when you just got to see it to know.
Right.
You just got to see it to know. Check it out.
Yeah, so those are our picks for the best British TV. Let us know in the comments below what your favorite picks are, because I'm sure that you guys have seen some series that we haven't even heard of before or checked out ourselves, so we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so that's it for this episode of NerdKO. Thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, but before we take off, we have one very special announcement to make. Muzz, let them know what it is.
Okay, so we decided that it would be a lot of fun to have a bunch of friends together and watch the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who. But we went a little bit bigger, and we decided it'd be 100 friends, and we bought out a theater at the Gateway Film Center here in Columbus, Ohio, and we're inviting all of our friends, you who are watching the show, anyone who wants to come on up, and you get a free ticket, and you can come on in. We're going to have a raffle with some Doctor Who prizes. We're going to have some Doctor Who merchandise and everything there. We're all going to sit and we're going to watch it as it shows on November 23rd at 1:30 p.m. You can come, get your ticket, and watch it with us.
Yep, and again, like that's for the low price of free. So if you're a Whovian, or if you know a bunch of Whovians, there's no reason for you not to head out and check this out.
So if you're anywhere near here, come on up, hang out with us, and check it out.
Yep, so thanks again so much for watching, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to both of our channels. That's youtube.com/geekspodcast for me, and youtube.com/L1games for Muzz.
So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.
Yep, see you next time.
British TV shows. Try that again.
Yes.
You opened, you're like, and I was
Well,
like,
because I thought, I didn't know.
Well, now you know.